Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Online Card Classes Crafty Chat. Today we are talking with Kathy Racoosin, the genius behind thedailymarker.com and the 30-day coloring challenge. Today Kathy is going to talk to us about packing up and crafting on the road. Hey everybody! Welcome back to Crafty Chat from Online Card Classes. My name is Lydia Fiedler. I am the community manager of Split Coast Stampers by day, and at night I blog at understandblue.com. I am here today with Christina Werner.
Hey guys, I'm Christina. I blog at katewernerdesign.com, and I'm also one of the co-founders of onlinecardclasses.com.
And Jennifer McGuire.
Hi, I'm Jennifer McGuire. You'll have to excuse me, I'm in a cold basement because there's too many kids upstairs, and it's cold, so I have a blanket here. So you can find me on jennifermcguireinc.com, and I'm the other founder of Online Card Classes, so you can find me there too.
Awesome. And today our very special guest is Kathy Racoosin. You all know her as the Coloring Queen. So Kathy, tell us a little bit about yourself and where we can find you on the internet.
Okay, hi, I'm Kathy. Well, I blog at thedailymarker.com, and I'm on Instagram. I'm really not on Facebook, and then I just blog, but I love to do coloring challenges. Hopefully you've heard about those. So those are good places to find me.
Do you have a coloring challenge coming up? Kathy, I love your coloring challenge.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I do. The next one is July 5th through August 3rd. It's 30 days. And can I just talk a second about the coloring challenge?
Yeah, I was about to ask you.
Okay, just so people know, I don't have any prompts or anything. I just want people to color. I love to color. And coloring, they say, well, Huffington Post said it's like the new yoga. It really lowers your blood pressure. And the coloring challenge it's just coloring something every day, even if it's for 10 minutes. Just carving out that me time. So the last one was a few months ago, and I miss it so much because that's the only time I color every single day. And so I'm excited to finally set a date. And even though it's not the perfect time, I need it. So I hope everyone does too.
For sure.
I miss it too. I love that challenge. I'm actually really glad you brought the challenge up because the topic that we want to talk to you about is related to something that I saw you do during a coloring challenge. And that was you nearly broke the internet, and I was lucky enough to be sitting next to you when you did this, with coloring the fall cup from Starbucks. During one of the coloring challenges, and then every single Starbucks in the country was mad at you because a bunch of people who like to color came in and took all the cups, and then there were no cups left.
Yeah.
But what amazed me about what you did, that was beautiful, by the way, and thank you for stealing one for me so that I could color a little fox card with it. But you were traveling when you did that. And probably for a lot of that particular coloring challenge. And so we thought that you could talk to us today about how you continue to be so amazing when you're crafting and you're out of your craft room.
Well, as you all know, I love to color. And sometimes we just don't have the luxury just to sit down and color when we're at home. So I always like to, before I like to pack supplies. I'm much more relaxed if I've packed my supplies before I pack my clothes.
That's very telling for, you're a hardcore crafter.
Right. And now, you really don't need a lot of supplies. And sometimes if I don't have time most of the time I don't have time to stamp images. I just, they're so portable in their plastic packages. I grab some ink. Now that the Misty is so lightweight and so small, I grab that, and then I just pluck my markers. Like, my markers are in these containers, and I just, it's like, oh, I want this color, I love this color, ooh, this is pretty, let me try this, and this. So I'll take, like 5 or 6 from each thing, And then like the reds, I'm like,
Can you hold those up higher so we can see the
Yeah.
full container? Those are so cute.
Oh, that is
I
cute.
love these. Joy Taylor, I copied her idea with these.
I have some back here, right here.
There, I see it. Yeah. Well, and what's great is if you have something really tall, like colored pencils, then you roll the thing up to fit. And I double rolled mine down so I could see the barrels.
What is that little basket? Did you buy that or did you make that?
Oh God, I wouldn't make this. No, this is from the Container Store.
We can give a link because it really is a good container for a lot of things.
It's reversible too, and it's
Cute.
you can. Sometimes I'll take an empty one of these and then just pack markers and stick it in my carry-on, and so then I might take this many. It depends. So then I just pluck colors, and then when you just pluck colors for like what you're feeling at the moment, you end up using different color combinations that you would never use. And that's when I've come up with my most creative color combinations. And then sometimes, I do them and save them. Let me just grab this one here.
That's such a good idea because there are many times where if I just have a few and you're forced to use things, you come up with new ideas or new color combinations. So that's brilliant to just grab just a few to take with you. And then you don't have to carry as much, too.
Yeah,
Right.
we used to have a challenge based on that. It was called a limited supply challenge, and we'd limit you to it does make you super creative.
Right. But you always want like a 0, and you always want some light colors. And then once you find colors, do a little, if you're bringing your stamped images, you can cut them out later and do a little color code. And then sometimes when you're stuck, just turn around and say, oh, I'll use this color combination today.
Oh, that's genius. I guess I always pictured you hauling all of your markers everywhere with you.
Oh, no. No, because it's just too much weight.
She's got this great, it's like a container that it's fabric-y and it zips around the top and it's only about this tall and smaller than the size of a piece of paper, and she will put her Misty in there and a few stamps and her ink pad, and she takes that, so she doesn't you don't always pre-stamp things.
Most times I don't.
Yeah. So she just puts enough in there, and then she has her markers, and she's just got those two things, and she can go anywhere.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Do you do other kinds of coloring on the road? Do you use any other medium, or is markers your favorite for traveling?
Markers is my favorite. The past 2 times, though, I've taken like a watercolor palette because I want to get better at it. So I force myself, okay, put your markers away, Kathy, and force yourself to use something else. So then I'll just, take an ink, some Tim Holtz watercolor paper because it's all pre-cut and bright white, and then the watercolors, a few brushes, and that's it. And that's just as easy. Sitting on an airplane is the perfect. I always get a window seat, and it's the perfect place to color. It's quiet. You have to usually sit there for at least 3 hours. Of course, my kids are grown. It's different when you have little ones. And if you have little ones, your day will come. Mine has, but we all have to go through that.
Do people ask you questions on airplanes about what you're doing?
No, not really. Every now and then, but not that often. People are just grouchy lately.
Yeah, well, flying is unpleasant.
Yes, it's not what it used to be.
No, but now that there are those TSA delays, think how much you can get done in your showing up 3 hours early for your flight. You have 6 hours of coloring now, Kathy.
So true, so true. And I just came back from Europe, and Christina, fortunately, she was here before I left, and she showed me how to download online card classes. I downloaded all the watercolor videos, and I watched them for 6 hours straight and took notes, and I was just in heaven. I had my little earbuds in, and it was just great because sometimes I love online card classes, and I don't always have time to watch every single one. I'm like, okay, I'll do that later, whatever. And traveling is a great time to catch up and do those classes and bring a few supplies, and you just feel rejuvenated.
Watch them on your laptop? Is that what you did?
On my iPad.
Okay.
And Christina, on top, ta-da!
Oh, I have that same case.
Yeah, I had an Apple case. I didn't like the way it held it up. So this is, a little iPad is just perfect.
That's great. And then you don't feel guilty when you're sitting on an airplane learning how to watercolor. You're not feeling pulled in a bunch of different directions.
Exactly. It's really
yourself.
fabulous.
Yeah, that watercolor class was great.
Good to come out with a travel class.
Yeah, we should.
That would be fun.
Okay, you're hired, Kathy. Get to work on that.
And you don't have to be like traveling to some great destination. She's inspired me to put little packs together that I take to baseball games. So, my son has baseball games almost every night. And so I went to Target and I bought the cutest bag. It's just an adorable bag, which I would have no other reason to buy. So this was a great excuse. And it's got all these pockets. And I did what Kathy does. I have like a travel pack together with just the essentials. So I can just grab some markers and a few stamp sets, and then I can go. I have my acrylic blocks in there, got some ink, I've got a little pack of wipes, and it is huge because by saving that, I don't have to pack up every time I go. So if, 5 minutes before I leave, I just throw some things in and head out the door, and then I have something I can do while I'm sitting there. We have to get there an hour before the game even starts, so while they warm up. What else am I going to do? So I color, and actually Lila usually colors too. I actually like my kids playing with Copics because you can't really damage the tips. They're pretty durable. So why not get them interested in that early? So we'll take those, or she likes my Spectrum Noir Sparkle. So I'll just grab some things, and this is what we've got. And it is wonderful for those times where, as a mom, you're just waiting. We do a lot of waiting at places. So we don't have to be traveling super far to be able to craft on the go, and I think Kathy's a real good example of that. So
thanks.
Yeah.
It's inspired me. Thank you.
You can even grab that little pack that you're talking about and take it to the kitchen. Well, I've done that before when I'm waiting for something to simmer or something, and I've got my little pack and I'm just dyeing the color, and you can just move from room to room easily.
Right.
Totally. I was going to mention that it's not recent because I've been setting up my craft room, but before I would want to color, and so I just, even though I wasn't traveling anywhere, even outside of my house, I had my little, I think I just had a little basket, and I threw in some stamp sets and some paper. In fact, I think I went through, I have a little bin filled with stamp sets that are brand new to me that I want to use fairly, soon. And so I went through those and stamped images from those so I would be sure to stamp them. And then I took my little basket down to the family room, and I turned on a movie, and I was, coloring or whatnot. And then I was able to either take those images that I colored and use them directly on a card, or I had kind of practiced on those images, and then I was able to actually make it into a card video later. So it's not, like you were saying, it's not just for when you're traveling far, far away from home. You can do it just when you're away from your usual crafting area.
Right. And, now they've coined the staycation. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Set up a tent in the living room with the kids and have a staycation, a little coloring party or something.
Oh, my kids would love that. Aunt Kathy needs to come over and do that.
Just invite me. I will do it.
Well, Jennifer, I think about when you said that about Lila and how, you love it when she's coloring with Copics. The suffering that we endured as children without alcohol markers, like the lines that overlapped.
I know.
How traumatic that was.
Well, it's funny when she's using, sometimes you'll get a coloring book and it comes with a pack of markers, 5 colors. And she colors, she's like, Mom, what are these lines? Why is it making lines? I'm like, oh, you have no idea. Or it's not sparkly like the Spectrum Noir. It's not sparkly. And I'm like,
you have to teach her about the suffering of our people before her generation. So sad.
got it
Yeah,
good.
well, my husband likes to watch TV. I'm not a good TV watcher, but unless it's Breaking Bad. But he likes to watch TV, and so I do my portable coloring. I just take it out there because I cannot sit still and watch a TV show. It does not feel right to me. So that's when I do my coloring. I have that magnetic, what is it called? The Perfect Portfolio, that magnetic clipboard. I don't know if you've seen that. The cover is magnetic. It holds your paper really firmly so you can watercolor or color with colored pencils. And really, that's when I get my best practice in, is when I'm deliberately doing something else and just trying to work on technique, especially with colored pencils, because those can be a little bit more challenging.
Right, yeah.
Looks like we have a visitor on your desk, Lydia.
We do have a little visitor. You know, it's that time of day. Maddie has to say hi. Say hi, Maddie.
We need to see Max.
He doesn't like, the only time he'll jump up like in my lap is if I sneeze.
Oh,
Is he worried about you?
I think he'd be a great like seeing eye dog. Like he senses like if I take a deep breath, like oh, she's gonna sneeze, I better come rescue her.
That's sweet.
But he's here somewhere on the floor.
most beautiful dog in the world.
So Kathy, another question I had for you, because of the Starbucks incident, is you also seem to be able to make your normal glorious creations when you're on the road or crafting with friends. Like you can just kind of focus and do all the amazing things that you do while the rest of us are just talking and eating cookies. How do you pull that off?
Oh gosh. I guess the hum of girlfriend chatter is like the perfect background sound, you know?
It's your inspiration? Because
Yeah.
you get a lot done.
I don't think so. I
You
really don't.
You create full cards.
Well, yeah, I might do a few full cards, but compared to some people, I don't. But one thing I do when I go is I always like to take a few sheets of masking paper because a lot of times we don't take the time to mask. And plus, when I'm traveling, like, you know, at a retreat, whatever, usually there's not die cutting stuff available. So then I take more time to mask something off and color it and make it like a one-layer card than I would normally. This is Concord and Ninth, and they're just gorgeous, fun blossoms. So
Beautiful.
I just thought I'd mention that because to limit the supplies, but to get something really interesting. And like when you're at home, you're not going to sit there and color for an hour. I mean, an hour slips away, and you feel rejuvenated after. So that's why it's good to do something like that, whether you're on a staycation or, you know. Also, I've been listening to books on tape a lot from Audible, and that's kind of helped me kind of get in the zone. I find when there's something going on in the background, it relieves the mind of like, oh, is this the right color? Am I doing the right thing? Is this pretty? You know.
Tim always says, don't overthink the ink.
Right.
You know, don't overthink your coloring, and that's true. I feel like some people are like, how can you color or do that when there's other things going on? I actually think I do better because I'm not overthinking it and wanting to start over because I'm not sure. A lot of times if you just stick with it, you can make it work. So you're right. That's a good point.
I'm one of those people that like, and I think a lot of people out there like this, that especially if you're a more visual person, that just sitting and listening to someone talking, maybe like in a class or even, dare I say it, at church, it's really hard to focus. But like when I was in school or when I was in church, I would be drawing or coloring or something that kept my hands busy so I could focus on what I was hearing. So that totally resonates with me when you were talking about the audio book, how you can listen to the book and then be coloring at the same time. I think that's really true for a lot of people that are more visual, that they can do both of those things at the same time.
I'm an Audible fan too. That's the only thing that I do when I'm crafting, because anything else distracts me. Like music, especially if you know the song, you know where it's going and you tend to sing or hum or think about the music. But the book, I don't know where the book's going. And so I can like kind of get lost in both of those things. I'm glad you're an Audible fan. I'll have to share some of my faves with you. But that is a great way to just really get zen into your work.
Right, yeah. Plus when you craft, it's like you don't have as much time to sit and read a book because you'd rather be crafting or coloring, so it's perfect. Then you can carry conversations with other people that read books, Because sometimes it's like, what do I talk about? Oh, have you read this book?
Yeah, and at this point in my life, if I start reading a paper book, I just fall instantly asleep.
True.
So if I'm coloring, I'm not going to fall asleep.
When I
Right.
was in college, I subscribed to the Wall Street Journal because, and I only got the weekend editions because those were the ones that had the good art section. But anyway, I did that because it was always a great conversation starter. Like, I just read this article about blah, blah, blah. And it was like I was never without something to talk about, without a topic. So I was...
You're still the topic queen. You always tell me something I don't know that's going on in the world.
So is Jennifer. She's always the first with the headline, too.
Mine only has anything to do with crafting or pythons that have been found in toilets.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
With a YouTube video, oh, you must see this, or,
Well, I have a question for Kathy. You've talked about coloring stamped images and things like that. Do you do, like, those adult coloring books, too? Or what other things do you color?
I did a review of them. I love that you could go into a boutique or a grocery store, so many different places, and they have them. But I love stamped images. I have some coloring books, but I never really pick them up. And I think, I should do this and then frame some because I want to do some art on my wall. But there's so many great rubber stamped images out there. I would just rather do that or make my own background or something because I just love to stamp. So
Yes, there's something about that freedom to choose what you're going to work on, too.
Yeah.
Out of all of those images.
And if you mess up, you can stamp it again and start over.
Right. I mean, there's some small little coloring books I've traveled with, but I don't know, I just haven't been able to do it.
You keep going back to your stamps.
I mean, I have great ideas like what you can do with your coloring pages. Cut them out, put them on a card, mount them, pop them, do different things. But either sometimes they're too small, the images, they're too expansive. I don't know. It's great because it's introducing coloring to so many people. It's just exciting to see them everywhere.
For sure. Well, a lot of people complain that, like, some of those coloring books that they're too intricate, they're too detailed, and so they don't like that there aren't enough large areas where you can really color quite a bit. So you were already familiar with the stamped images, and so that's where you found your first love of coloring. So it totally makes sense that you would gravitate to that more than you would a coloring book. I did want to mention, if you're looking for watercolor coloring books, there are some by Carrie Painterly Days. I can't remember her. I think her name's Carrie Smith or Carrie. I can't remember. We'll put links down below. But if you want a watercolor and you want a little bit larger spaces to color in, those are really great for that. I think she's got 3 or 4 different books, and they're all on watercolor paper, and they're really great.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. That's nice.
Are they faint lines or are they black lines or?
They're gray lines, actually. Let me grab them for you. I got them over here. Okay, they are by Christy Rice. Sorry, I was thinking Carrie something. I was completely off. Her name is Christy Rice, and I've got the pattern book and the flower book. This is the flower one.
Ooh, now that's exciting.
It's actually really pretty. Like, you open it up like this, and then they come out even more, and there's a little bit of color instruction.
Oh.
Down and white, like la la.
That's nicely done.
Will you open
And inside, it talks about all the different flowers and what they are, but then you go into the actual patterns, and they look like so.
Okay, hold it still.
Okay, hold on.
Okay. Now that I might take with.
Yeah, it's really kind of cool. Like, they're really big open areas, and they're gray, so that as you start coloring, depending on what colors you're using, it'll start to look like you've just sketched it yourself, like it's not pre-printed. So that was the flower book, and then there's a pattern book, And so this is probably for more people. Oh, here's one that I started coloring. This is for people who they don't want to do anything particularly like an image or something. So, like, look at this. There's just the circles or...
Ooh.
Oh, I like it.
So, more simple. If you don't want to be coloring images and thinking about what they are and having to come up with the correct colors, you can just do patterns. So I just wanted to mention those are really cool. I'm thinking next time I travel, I might take those with me with some Zig Clean Color markers.
Is the paper nice?
The paper's pretty nice. It's basically like, I'd probably make it the equivalent of like a 90-pound hot press paper.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Because, you know, I haven't done many of the coloring books for a few reasons. One is I don't often like the paper for what I use, like what coloring I use. And also, I'm one of those where when I do a hobby, it needs to be kind of practical. Like card making, I'm giving it to somebody, so that's practical to me. So that's a fault of mine. Like, I don't know, I just feel like I need to do something with it. But I really think they make great gifts. I gave to, like, the secretaries at our school one of the coloring books and a set of pens, and they said it was the best gift. They loved it. And you can't go wrong with a lot of people. My oldest daughter who's in college, I send her coloring stuff and coloring books all the time. I even got a Doctor Who coloring book. I can't believe it. Yeah, they have Star Wars ones. They have everything you can think of now, like adult coloring books. And she loves them. So I think they also make a great gift, and that's like a gateway drug. You kind of lure them in with that, and then before you know it, they're going to be stampers with us.
Yeah.
I agree. Kathy, what is your favorite portable watercolor? Since you said you started watercoloring, I wanted to hear Christina's too, because that's my favorite thing to do on the road is watercolor.
Oh, it is?
Yep.
Well, Christina turned me on to, I just happen to have them handy because I just took them with me.
Mission Gold! Yay!
Oh, they're the best. I love
them. What are they called, Christina? I don't even know.
They are Magello Mission Gold watercolors.
Okay. And when you leave a little fairy godmother in your craft room, they make color charts for you.
Oh,
made a color chart for her.
Lucky you. That's amazing.
Come into my house.
Color charts for everything. You'd have it done before I ever got there.
I don't have those watercolors. I feel like you have to earn those watercolors, and I have not earned them.
Well,
I don't know. They're such a good price on Amazon that, like, even if you're kind of a beginner and you really suspect you're going to like watercoloring, I would recommend those.
Are they
They
tubes?
are creamy.
Let me see them again. What are they?
yeah.
They are tubes. And
Oh,
then
tubes
you just
scare
squeeze
me.
them out. You just squeeze them out and then let them dry, and then it's like a pan.
So why don't I buy pan?
Because this particular set of tube paints is for that to buy the equivalent pan set.
Huh.
And the other good thing about like tube watercolors is that if Kathy didn't want to take that palette, she wanted something even a little bit smaller, she could buy like a really inexpensive $4 palette at her local craft store or online or wherever, and then squeeze out those two paints, just the colors that she wants, maybe 8 to 10 colors, and then she has a really small palette to travel with. So you can, I like that I can have the same watercolors spread out across different sizes of palettes, so no matter what I'm doing, I have the correct size palette.
Will they make me paint as good as you?
I cannot guarantee this.
You lost me. I need help.
Take you to the islands with you, and that's all you have. You will improve, even though I think you're great. But you just enhance what you're already doing.
The colors are so dreamy, Jennifer. I mean, I think you would just love the pigments in that set. I do. I mean, they're just very intense, very easy to work with. They really are super dreamy. I think you'd like them.
I'll give them a try, and then I'll invite Christine over to make my swatch.
Yep.
Okay, I'm there.
We need a little swatch factory. I have not swatched mine, sadly.
So worth it. It's what you do when you want to paint or you want to use some of your supplies, but you don't necessarily want to be as creative as to come up with something to do with them. So you just do swatches instead.
Yeah,
I agree.
I enjoyed the heck out of that in that class because I did swatch. I can't remember where. Oh, I swatched my Daniel Smith in the class, which I also love the Daniel Smith ones. I think I like the Mission Gold more, but I don't know. I love them all. They're like my children.
Yeah.
But I like before I got the Mission Gold, I really like that Koi travel set. I think that's like the ultimate watercolor travel set because it's already got all the colors you need in it. And if you like, I tried this on vacation. This was the first time I'd ever done this and I can't remember who I saw do this, but to do an actual travel journal where you're actually painting what you see every day, because I'm really bad at drawing. But with watercolor, you kind of make up for that because watercolor, when you're doing that sketch style watercolor, it's not supposed to be super precise.
It's more loose.
Yeah, and you can just capture the color and kind of the feel of what you're seeing on vacation. If you just get a little sketchbook and a Koi watercolor set, you can be a very happy camper for a week or two somewhere.
That's why I take my Peerless. I have my Peerless watercolor in a 4x6 thin plastic photo album, and that's easy to just grab and take with a water brush somewhere. So and I'll take those. Simon Says Stamp has those pre-printed patterns on the watercolor paper, and that's great because you don't need much. You need the water brush, Peerless album with all the Peerless, and then those. And that's it.
I always take some of these with me too.
And I'll link to the video of how I do my Peerless to make it easy to take with you. And those are great. And we'll link to
Peerless are great. So lightweight. I mean, I've even done those in the car.
Yeah.
Like on a road trip, like making backgrounds.
And that's what's cool about watercolor is it's light because you have such a small thing to take with you. You can add water when you get where you're going. I mean, it's such a great portable medium, I think. Makes you feel sorry for oil painters.
Well, you usually always have a bottle of water with you, or someone does that you know. And there's paper towels in the bathroom.
Right.
So, I mean, it's really, you can just, it's great to travel with.
Okay, about water. I always have issues filling these aqua painters or aquash brushes, whatever you want to call them, water brushes. I found some bottles that had little eyedroppers in them. And this one happens to be filled with water at the moment. And then I can just fill up the pen really quick. And it makes it so there's no mess. You just slip that all the way inside and then push the water in.
Yeah, because you're talking about when they get that little like film on top and then you can't get the water in there, they just sort of overflow.
Well, no, like if you're trying to fill it with like a water bottle or something, sometimes it can be hard to like pour it in slow enough that it only goes in the paintbrush and not all over your lap. Yep. So this is really great, and I actually keep this in my craft room all the time because I don't have a sink in my craft room. I have to go like out and around and out to the hall bathroom to get water. So I just keep this filled all the time, and then I can refill my water brushes when I need to. But this is great for travel, and it's small enough that, I mean, you could take this through TSA and they're not going to have a problem.
Is it plastic?
This one happens to be glass,
Okay.
but, I mean, I'm sure they've got plastic versions out there.
Yeah, there's also those squeeze bottles, too.
Mm-hmm.
I have one of these. I'm trying to pull it up on Amazon to show you. It's bigger. It's not good to travel with. Can you see that? It's a squeeze.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, a little squeezy thing.
Because I've got the same thing as you. I decided not to put a sink in my office, so I have that filled with water. But because I was constantly refilling my mist bottles and that you just put right inside and just squeeze in it. So fast, so fast.
Were you a scientist when you used that?
Yeah, I think that might have been from my engineering days.
That's a cool bottle.
They're cool.
It's kind of nice to put a little wine in it and. And hood of wine. I got a white wine. I got a red wine.
Yeah, actually, Jennifer, you should add that to your teacher gift because if you gave a coloring book, some markers, and a squirt bottle of wine, can you even imagine how well your children will be treated at school? Amazing.
I tell you,
Great.
at the end of every year, the first teacher gift idea that comes to mind is a bottle of tequila, because I don't know how those teachers do it. I'm blown away how they total utmost respect, but I never give them tequila. So,
well, as a former teacher, I appreciate the sentiment because some days in school,
definitely underpaid too. I mean, for everything that they do.
Yeah.
Hey, Lydia, did you ever have parents give you booze?
Oh my gosh, all the time. Yeah.
Hey.
I taught third grade.
It's okay.
Yeah, I taught third grade at a private school in the town where I grew up, and very frequently we got liquor as end of year gifts. So, but then those poor parents had to take the kids for the summer, so
So you give it back then.
giving them liquor. But Kathy, what were you gonna say? You were gonna say you went somewhere without something once?
Oh, I went. We were gone somewhere, and I had everything I needed except a block. So I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? I can't stamp. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute.
start to
I
shake.
figure this out. So if you look around the hotel room, you'll find something that's flat. I've used like the bottom of a water bottle, the lid to a water bottle, like a soap dispenser. I mean, you'll find something that rubber stamp sticks on, and then you can stamp away.
I have found that the iPhone 6 is fabulous in an emergency.
Oh.
It would, because it would stick to the front of your phone.
Yeah, right onto the case.
Yep.
Well, there you go. 'Cause that's more flat than a water bottle. Well, and it's bigger. I mean, because this would be great for a big stamp.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
So what are your essentials? Let's say you're headed out for the zombie apocalypse. What's
Well,
in the
anyone that
zombie
knows me,
apocalypse
this
pack?
is number one.
Yep.
White gel pen.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Uniball
Kathy,
Signo Broad.
Huh?
Uniball Signo Broad white gel pen.
Yep.
Because Kathy is known for taking a stamped image, coloring it, and then adding the most amazing, like breathtaking and changes with little white touches here and there, and it completely transforms it. Totally different look. Amazing. I've tried it, and what I need to do is take something Kathy did with the same stamp, color it the same way, and then do hers to kind of teach myself how to do it, because it's a gift, man. It's pretty amazing.
I agree. Your white accents or something else.
Well, I have a bag here that I haven't unpacked yet. Do you want me to grab it?
Yes. Oh, that would be fabulous. A live demonstration? Wow. You're going to win guest of the day, Kathy.
Check out her chair. That was cool.
Okay.
I've
Well,
seen that bag before.
huh?
I've seen you with that bag before.
Yeah. So actually, I just went to it was kind of like a women's shelter, but they call it an assessment center, and I taught a little class. And so I'm going to be doing this like once a month. So actually, this bag I packed for them, I just realized. But I always, no matter what, 2 white gel pens. I always have a
Mine stopped working, so you have to have a backup.
Well, I've been very lucky. I don't know if it's rare that I have a white gel pen that doesn't work well.
It's because you're using it more often than most people probably are.
And you gave me a really good tip a couple years ago. You said that when your white gel pen stops working, to like scribble on your fingertip or on the back of your hand or something, and that warms up the fingertip or warms up the tip of the pen, and it gets the ink flowing again.
Yep.
Yeah, that always works.
Kathy's always got a little bit of white on her hand.
Yeah. So then I always have, always a Sharpie fine pen, fine tip. And these you can get at any drugstore, grocery store, they're everywhere. But you have to make sure they've got the black ring, because I've bought some they have like red and green, black.
Is that for touching up stamped images, or what are you using the Sharpie for?
I mean, now that there's the MISTI, I don't feel like I need to outline an image as much, but I like to make lines thicker and add my own lines and stuff like that. So I always, and especially when I'm traveling, I do it even more.
Well,
Huh?
I know that the ink, what Kathy does, another thing that she does that always make her images pop so much is that, a lot of the Copic-friendly black inks aren't super vibrant black. So she would stamp it, color it, and then what she was talking about, outline, she'd trace it with that black pen to make it dark, even darker. But with the Misty, you can just stamp it a couple times, or even stamp with a Copic-friendly ink, color, and then stamp on top of it with a non-Copic-friendly ink that's dark black.
I love over stamping with VersaFine after I've colored something.
Yeah. She would trace it by hand, or she'll change how, like, maybe a flower image looks by making it darker, like heavier black outline in some areas. So that's what she uses that pen for, and that's one of that and the white pen are the two things that really help to make her coloring pop so much.
Thanks. Especially on butterflies, it's fun to add your own black lines and stuff.
Yeah.
So then in here, I just always have a small pair of scissors. And the first time this has ever happened, I think we're at the Munich airport this spring, and the guy took my scissors out and he measured them, and they made their cut at the airport. So I was happy about that. Why I would be happy about this, I packed a glitter pen.
I was going to say, those scissors, if anyone's wondering, those are the EK Success Honey Bee scissors. They're, what's the word, non-stick.
Non-stick, and they have a really nice blade. Sometimes scissors don't. They're great for I still love to fussy cut, and sometimes you just need to cut something, and they really get around a corner really nice. And not many scissors do. So, and then I just have an ink, which I'll sometimes use as a palette. And then just one block here. And that's what I packed for this women's thing that I did. And then I pre-stamped for them. So those are my bare essentials.
Love that. What do you do about cardstock? Do you pre-cut your cardstock yourself? Do you take it to Kinko's? How do you get that ready to go?
I take it to Kinko's, and I had them cut both ways.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You can describe that better than me. But so I have a horizontal and a vertical 4x6-ish.
Top fold and side fold.
Yeah. And sometimes I'll grab some strips of those with me and then stamp. So
you do your card bases are a Copic-friendly cardstock then?
Yeah. If I'm not taking watercolor paper, I'll take Nina.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love going and getting. That's what I do before I travel. Is I take it all to Kinko's and I like top fold. I don't know why. It feels like a pain. I can't fight it. And then I also get them just to cut me 4 by 5 1/4 panels. So whenever I go buy white cardstock, I immediately just take stacks and stacks of it to Kinko's. They cut it down for me, and then whenever I'm ready to whether I'm traveling or not, whenever I'm ready to make a card, I just grab a stack of those. It makes life so much easier.
Yes.
And it's like $4 a cut or something, right? I mean, it's so.
Mine is $1.25 a cut.
Wow.
You can take a ream of. I get a ream of Nina cardstock. I only use 2 white cardstocks in my room because I found it. If I had inexpensive white cardstock, and then the good stuff, it was hard to keep them track. So what I do is I get 80-pound and 110-pound of the good Nina. I take that ream in, and you have them cut it down the center one way and cut it down the center the other way. It costs you like $4.
Yep.
And it cuts all of that for you, and then you have 4 1/4 by 5 1/2-inch pieces that you can stamp on, do whatever you want, stick it on a card. Or you can, sometimes I'll take a ream and I'll take a third of it and cut it that way. Another third I'll cut in half one way. Mm-hmm. Another third I cut in half the other way. And then I have some side folding and top folding cards. And I go ahead, right when I get home, I go ahead and score them all and fold them. So I have a collection of top folding white note cards, side folding white note cards, and pre-cut fronts. And I never reach for a full piece of Nina then. And it saves so much time.
So much time.
And when you're creating, who wants to go cut and score? You want to keep it going.
Yeah, cutting is not a part of the process that I enjoy at all, unless it's fussy cutting, because I'm with you there, Kathy. I find that relaxing. But that's the best $8 a card maker can spend, is taking their cardstock to Kinko's.
Yes.
And I have a friend, I visited a friend in Arizona recently, and she has her colored cardstock just cut into top folding cards. So she just has it cut in half as soon as she gets it. She doesn't have a whole piece of cardstock in her entire studio.
Wow.
And I hadn't thought about the colored, but I might start doing that too.
That makes me nervous, not having any full pieces of cardstock.
Can't breathe. Can't breathe.
Well, no, I started cutting down my Nina too, which has been fantastic. But unfortunately, I cut every single piece, and so I didn't have any full pieces. So when I went to, like, if I go to print out maybe some digital stamps, or if I'm printing out like things for swatching inks or things like that, I didn't have any full sheets of Nina, and I had to like order more. And
oh my gosh.
Oh, I've got backups. I can't, if there is an apocalypse, I will starve, but I will not be out of Nina cardstock.
Yeah.
I promise you. I will be stocked up on that Nina.
I bet there is a crafter out there who has awesome food storage but no cardstock, and you could barter.
Right.
We need to become friends.
Yeah, I always tell people I'm quitting stamping as soon as I run out of paper. Done.
Can't happen.
Yeah. Never gonna happen. What else? So what else is in your little toolkit? Do you bring a bone folder? You didn't say bone folder, Kathy.
No, I just do that when I come back. Sometimes I just got these. It's like the Sharpie. They're super fine. Well, actually, there is one thing I do like to take. It's like a .003 or something, which is what I think these are.
What brand is that?
These are Prismacolors, right?
Prismacolor. Yeah. So, but these make so I like to add little eyelashes to little eyeballs, and these are like they make an eyelash line. It's slightly, it's like an eyelash with mascara. So it's thinner than this, so it's super fine, and it's perfect for, sometimes on flowers I'll add little feather lines and then white dots or something. So these come in colors, so I thought I would see how that goes. So I've been taking them with me, but I haven't been using them.
Another thing that, when I was at your house, it was at your old house, you had like a bowl or something. It was an adorable, I think, antique bowl or something, where you had a bunch of things you colored and cut out, and they were just in there. So when you needed a card, you could fish through them. Do you still do that?
Oh, except they're not quite as organized. But there's a drawer behind me that has stuff, and I have actually, last time I went away, Mama Elephant's stamp, so I had some time to die cut and stamp these, and then I took these with me to do, just all different ways.
That's great. And then when you need a card, you can grab that, stamp a sentiment.
Now, this card, I did do the orange lines. Can you see?
Oh,
that's amazing.
So you have my address, right?
Yeah. I know. I'm overdue.
No, I just want that flower.
No, but that's so smart, though, because that element of your card is so beautiful, and you've spent so much time on it. You just put a sentiment on that, and that's a stunner.
You're done. Bam. So, you just take more time coloring when you take it away.
Now, what about you, Christina? Because I know you always have everything. Do you just run an 18-wheeler? No.
Well, it depends, because when I've been traveling over the last little bit, I've sort of learned that I should really just focus on one thing to do, because in the past I'll bring some watercolors, I'll bring some Copics, I'll bring, all these ink pads, and it's just too much.
It's a nail polish.
Yeah, so I just have to focus on one thing. So if I'm going to just be doing some lettering, I'll just bring like a pouch with a bunch of markers in it, and then a notepad of paper. Or if I'm just doing watercoloring, maybe I'll grab, one of these watercolor coloring books and then my palette of Peerless watercolors. I'm trying to narrow it down to where I'm focused just on one thing. Kind of goes back to that whole limited supplies thing. I think if I limit what I have with me, it eliminates all of that indecision and trying to come up with a plan for what I'm creating. By only taking a few things, it forces me to only do that, and I find that more relaxing. Kind of like having those restrictions makes me feel more comfortable. It's kind of like when you have, Jennifer has said this to me in the past, that her craft room used to be in her basement and it was much larger, and then she went to a smaller craft room and she found that it really helped her workflow because she wasn't as overwhelmed with so many things to choose from. So I think taking a page out of her book, if we edit down the supplies that we have, in front of us, it forces us to focus and really come up with new and creative ideas with what we have.
I agree. Very much so.
I heard that perfectly.
I agree too, and I do it a little bit differently. I try to think, okay, what do I need? Like, if I'm traveling somewhere in the fall, then I know what I need to work on is Christmas cards. So what I try to do is spend all the design time at home, figuring out what that's going to be, and it's kind of that quality time that I need to be by myself for. And then I bring the pieces for just that, because I finally learned the exact same thing. If I bring it all, I will do absolutely nothing. And if I bring one thing, I can just mechanically do it, and then I can still have fun talking to everybody or doing whatever I'm supposed to be doing at the time. But also kits, and I think we talked about that with Heidi. I love just bringing a kit and my Misty, and I can just make a bunch of cards that I don't have to think about. And those are the cards that I'll end up sending because I actually finished them, instead of just getting half of it done. I have a UFO pile too, Kathy. It's not as pretty as your UFO, unfinished objects.
Yes, thank you.
Pile.
I was like, what? UFO? What? Okay, unfinished object. Okay.
That's what I call my pile. I just have like a bowl, and I just put the stuff that, because you know how you'll color an image, and then it turns out it's wrong for the card you were working on, even though you really like the little creature or whatever. Mm-hmm. So they just go in a bowl, and then they inspire me later. What do you chat with, Jennifer?
Well,
what were you gonna say?
Yeah, no, it goes in with it. Like I find that sometimes I get bored coloring. I'm sorry, Kathy, but sometimes I do. I don't know why. So I've been into the felting, cut felt and stitching, and I'll take that with me a lot. But the other thing that you can almost always catch me with is I have a sleeve with a zipper on top that I always take everything in. I have a bunch of them, but one of them is packed all the time with my return address stamp, some postage, a roll of plain washi tape, some envelopes, and then when I'm going to like a baseball practice, I'll just grab some cards I've made recently and throw it in there, and then I can just fill out the cards, put them in an envelope, stamp it, and do everything, and then I write like, Christina Werner, and then I go home. When I get home, I go in and add in the address. But I have everything I need in there to get it going, and then I send many more cards. That's another thing that I like to do on the go, because I got to be better about sending the cards that I make. Now, when I go to craft retreats, I am useless. Like, with all my friends there, I am just not able to create anything. So what I found that I've been doing retreats with friends for probably 10 years now, and I finally figured it out. At this last one, I made a ton of cards because I came up with one simple design, and I made 10 of them. Then I came up with one more simple design, and I made 10 of them. And I left with like 40 cards made. Wow. Now, there's nothing extravagant about them, to say the least. I did some quick Copic coloring on one. It was just a sunshine, so it didn't really take that much. Covered it with some Wink of Stella, and I had 10 cards in like an hour. And I send those all the time now. I reach for those a lot because they're one layer, easy.
You're so great about doing that. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do what you do, and then I've had these for like a month. So.
Well, I just mailed out because that's what I did too. Except I am a professed stencil addict, and so I had stenciled a bunch of backgrounds that you can just put with the stencil brushes and ink that you could just put big sentiments on, and I just mailed them all yesterday. So that I don't know how many months that's been.
That's that's almost as good of a feeling as coloring. Is
It is.
the fact that you're sending out.
Yeah, and I love the idea of taking the postage and the envelopes. I have seriously, that has never crossed my mind as something to travel and do, but that is such a great idea because that's what we need to do is mail them.
Yeah.
Well, and some addresses I have in my phone, so I can even address it, and it's done when I get home. All I have to do is put them on the counter to put in the mailbox the next day. That's rewarding. But then people come up to you and ask you what you're doing, and you have to be social.
Yeah.
And you're like, people, I'm trying to connect with people here. Can you please leave me alone?
You know, one time I had found I went through my cards and took out all the ones that had like thinking of you and encouragement, because Kim, who used to work at Hero Arts, was collecting cards for people who had recently lost a baby via miscarriage or something, and the doctors can give a helpful book with a card in it from somebody. So they were collecting cards. So I went through and I grabbed all these thinking of you cards I could find, and at a baseball practice I was writing, thinking of you and prayers from Jennifer in Cincinnati, and I did like 30 of them, and that's when people started asking. But then it was great because they, got the word out about this great cause. But yeah, a lot of times people are like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. Yeah, especially, it might seem a little suspicious if you're making 100 sympathy cards. They might be a little nervous about you.
Yes, this is true.
Funny.
But then people think that all I do all day is, color and play.
Right.
Well, the whole sending card thing reminds me that Kathy and I, we haven't done this yet, but we decided that we were going to make an appointment, a meeting with each other once a week, or maybe every couple weeks or so, where we'd hop on Skype or on Google Hangout or something, just for like an hour, and for that 1 hour we would be focused on addressing cards and getting cards ready to send out.
What a great idea.
And then you could chat and catch up.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so stealing that idea. I love that.
Let's do it.
Well, I think Kathy would be okay with you joining us, Lydia, if you'd like to.
Sure.
That is amazing. And one of the things, Jennifer, I was going to say this about those thinking of you cards. I do teach classes once a month, and one thing I do like every other month is I do like a time where everybody can come and make 10 sympathy cards, because that's a card that you do not want to make when you need it, because you don't feel creative, you don't feel happy, and you're not in your creative space. And so if you can get together with people and stamp the sympathy cards and be creative and be happy and then have those when you need them, that's a great way to have those cards on hand, because that's just not a fun time to stamp. And so those for sure I like to do ahead.
Well, there's something that I like to call the sympathy card insurance policy. If you have sympathy cards on hand, you won't need them.
Yes.
This is my experience. It's when you don't have them, that's when you need them. So it's almost like, just to make sure that nothing bad happens to you or your loved ones, you should have some sympathy cards on hand.
That's great.
I like that.
I'm stealing that one too. I know for a fact that works for birthday cards, because people keep having birthday cards birthdays when I don't have any birthday cards.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Lydia, I'd like to let you know about something. People have birthdays every year.
So annoying.
To have birthdays, I promise.
I think birthdays are stressful. I worry, am I forgetting someone? Did I forget? Did I do the right thing? I don't know.
I'm not good about sending birthday cards at all, because I don't know, it's like Valentine's Day. I don't want roses on Valentine's Day.
Right.
I want roses on a Tuesday in February, in January, something unexpected. And I the same way with my cards. I'm not good about birthdays, but unexpected times, like when you may need it
The most, right.
You might need a pick-me-up. I'm better at those. I'm with you.
Yeah, and I love that somebody was just randomly thinking of you and sent you a card.
Not just because your name was on their calendar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Speaking of
exactly.
that, one thing that Jennifer does, she has like correct me if I'm wrong, like a padded envelope that she took to the postage office with the card in it to get the estimated weight. Then she knows how much postage to put on. Because, like, for me, that's one thing that holds me back that she suggested I do that I haven't done yet that I still want to do is so then you have that all set. You stick it in and it's in the mail. You don't have to take it to the post office, get it weighed, sized, or anything.
Yep.
Yeah. Nobody would ever get a card from me if I had to go to the post office. I can just tell you that right now.
Yeah.
I have like the international postage so that I don't even have to worry about that. I know exactly what it costs to mail that thing to most places, and I have it written down so I know and I don't have to deal with from the post office. That's a time saver too.
Yeah. So that was a really
I usually overestimate how much postage something needs, so I'm pretty sure I've wasted probably hundreds of dollars on unneeded postage, but I just want to make sure it gets there. You know, so I'll put on my regular forever stamp, and then I'll put on like a postcard stamp, so there's a few extra cents on it. They get there.
Okay. Consider it a donation because we want the Postal Service to stick around.
I was going to say, you know, maybe you're the reason why they're still in business, you know.
And the postage price just went down, so.
Well, I sent a card, I think it was a Christmas card, to Greg and Angie at Concord and Ninth, except I forgot to put the address on it. Oh. And so I'm really hoping that there's going to be like this magical, I think I might have had the zip code, I can't remember. But I print labels for my Christmas cards, and I went back, and that's how I saw that it didn't have the address on it. It just had the zip code, and it just said the Greg and Angie or something. And so I'm hoping that some kind person in Salt Lake City someday is going to show up at Concord and Ninth with that card. That's the miracle I'm waiting for. I can be my own worst enemy when it comes to mailing, for sure.
Years ago, I was part of this, what was it called? The International Calligraphy Guild. This was like back in the year 2000, 2001. And we would do these envelope exchanges where like you'd be teamed up with like 9 other people, so there'd be 10 people on the list, including yourself, and you would send something in an envelope to those 9 other people, and then you would receive 9 back. So for whatever reason, when I like emailed them my address, I just did not even put the country or the zip code. It was just like, you know, send it to this city and this state, and that was it. And I didn't even realize it until like the first one arrived, like somehow it found where I lived. It arrived, and I'm like, oh, how funny, they forgot to put the, you know, the country and the zip code. And then the next one arrives. I'm like, wait a minute, they forgot too. And then they all came in, and I was amazed that it still found me, even though most of them were coming from like Europe or Australia or Japan, and they still got here.
That's a postal miracle.
Yeah.
How long ago was that? I mean.
Let's see. I think it was either my freshman or sophomore year of college, so it was either 2000 or 2001. So like 15 years ago.
Probably wouldn't happen now. Who knows?
Well, I did go to school in a small town, so that could be it.
Yeah, that helps. Kathy, this isn't about traveling, but this is a question that I have every time you do your challenge. How do you prepare for 30 days of challenges? Do you pre-stage some work for yourself, or do you get up and let it happen, or what is that process like for you?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, the only day 1 and day 2, well, the first day I try and do something special or different or out of the box. So of course, I have to prepare for that. And then usually, you know, I have to post the night before the day. So, but as far as organizing anything else, I might work with the manufacturer and know what stamps that I'm using, but I just don't have the time to do anything ahead, and I feel like it makes it more authentic anyway, so I don't worry about it. So some days I might just post, this was all that I had time for, just like you just have a little bit of time. So that's really it. I
like your partial I like the days when you do a partial image instead of a completed project, because usually that's what I'm doing if I'm participating in your challenge, is just doing, part of something. I think that's fun for people. What were you surprised by how many people got involved with that challenge and how big it is now?
Yeah, I was. It's just wonderful. And there's such an amazing, supportive group of women that have just made it great, because they comment on other people's art, and just the support of you guys. There's just been so much support, and that's what's made it kind of successful. I mean, what do you call success? I guess it's just a group of people enjoying what they're doing and doing something happy for themselves. So it's just such a loving, warm, fuzzy time in my life when I do those challenges.
Yeah, and you look at that hashtag, which is just, it's amazing every time you look at how many people have posted on that hashtag. But you go look at it on Instagram, and it is such a thing of beauty just to see pages and pages of those beautiful photos.
Tell us the hashtag so if they're not familiar, they can look it up.
It's hashtag the Daily Marker 30 Day. For every challenge, I was doing like the 30-day. The second challenge would be the 30-day 2, and then for the third, I'd do 30-day 3. And Jennifer's like, wait, you really should all be under the umbrella of one hashtag. So for the fourth challenge, that's what we started doing, going back to the first one. How's that for confusing everyone? But it's hashtag the Daily Marker 30 Day, and there's so many talented people, and there's people that grow. You just see their art just grow through the 30 days, and there's no guilt if you check out for a week or a day or whatever. But I think people have just seen how their artwork grows during that time, and that's so rewarding and so fun. And people have made friends, special friendships, and it's like, oh my God, it's just so exciting.
It is exciting, and I mean, when you comment, because you comment, when you get a Kathy Rack comment on your Instagram, that makes your year right there if you're coloring something.
Thank you.
You're so sweet to everybody. It's just so much fun to see. Now, people can use any medium, right? They don't have to be using Copic markers. They don't have to use what you're using. It's just whatever they want to do, right?
Anything. Any paper, just absolutely anything. If you want to take your eyeshadow and color some dots on some cardstock, that counts, Coloring.
I love that. That's very liberating.
Coloring swatches during that time, and
maybe that'll make me get my swatches done.
I bet it will.
Wonder if I can do that. If I can do in 30 days what Christina can do in 15 minutes? I wonder if I can pull that off.
Yeah.
Do you ever have a theme for them, like for yourself personally? Are you, this time you focus on flowers, or?
No, I don't. Just if I have to work with a particular stamp set. But last challenge, I worked with too many people, so I had to make full cards, and I had more giveaways, and it was way too much for me. The beauty is just coloring something, not making a full card, and not having any restrictions. With that said, I really gravitate towards butterflies and birds and flowers. But I try and say, okay, color 10 flowers, maybe you should do something geometric or something. So, but there's no planning. I do take, I took these with me last time I went away. These are from Danielle.
Neat and Tangled?
Yes, thank you. Because this is a big stamp. I've cut this in half, and I took this to that shelter, and they colored these, and that's just, but it's a great fun thing to have on hand to color too. Mm-hmm. Oh, because you can just die cut a chunk out of here, and you have a card.
Yep.
I might use something like this to bring in, to balance all my birds and butterflies and stuff. Because there's a few men in the group, which is really fun. So, I try and mix it up a little bit, but no pre-planning. It's just I fly by the seat of my pants.
That's great. I think that's very encouraging because, anything that you do, any kind of a challenge that you commit to that, is over a period of time, you want to feel like it's not going to take over your life. And that's what I love about your challenges. I can fit it in because I have no pressure to make a full project. One thing I haven't asked you is just some of your bio info about how did you get started crafting? What lit your crafty fire way back when you were baby Kathy?
Okay. Well, when I was little, do you guys remember Ziggy, the cartoon image Ziggy?
Mm-hmm.
I would, like in the comic strips of the paper, they'd be cute little cartoons, so I would draw Ziggies and make cards because there wasn't rubber stamps, or I didn't know that there was. So I always kind of drew up coloring and stuff. I would enter coloring contests, would never win. And a friend of mine went on a cruise, and they had a little craft class, and she learned how to emboss. So she came back, and she's like, "Look at this! You've got to see this." And I'm like, "What?" And she showed me embossing. I'm like, "Oh my God!" I mean, it was like an epiphany. It was like the skies lit up, and all the butterflies and flowers came out at once. And so, of course, I ran to the closest craft store and got embossing stuff and stamped images. And then it's like, okay, well, I don't really know how to do everything. So I started doing classes, and then Hero Arts, I found out about Hero Arts, and that was what changed my life because that led me to Jennifer McGuire, and I was just mesmerized by everything she does. And Hero Arts has those challenges, and they had the Flickr. They still have the Flickr group. So, I made friends there, and then it just blossomed and grew. My love for rubber stamping and everything.
Your embossing story. You know how many people I have heard say that exact same thing?
Isn't that funny? Like, we should just take a embossing gun and powder to Starbucks and just see what people do.
Yeah. When I teach my classes, I teach them in a restaurant, and that is what gets the men in the restaurant to come over and ask us what we're doing. They're like, those ladies are using a tool over there that makes noise.
Yeah.
Go over there and find out what's going on. And they're just fascinated by it. Embossing is still just so magical, and so many people, myself included, got started rubber stamping because of the magic of embossing.
Yeah, I've heard that too. It really is phenomenal. It's really neat.
And Jennifer keeps us, with all her embossing techniques, keeps us addicted.
That's the whole thing of this.
And I just have to say, the education on online card classes has just been so inspiring and rewarding, and the price point is amazing. And if you break it down, I mean, it's like 25 cents for a video that you're watching. I mean, it's just incredible, and I have to thank you both for opening up business and, spreading the love of crafting through online card classes. I mean, they're not telling me to say this. I'm like their biggest fan, and I just can't say enough about it. I mean, it's really been great. So it's a huge honor for me to be here today on a Crafty Chat.
Well, and we appreciate, you're one of our biggest cheerleaders, and we appreciate that.
We love you, Kathy.
Thanks. I wish I had pom-poms.
Love to get you some.
Can Lydia, put some pom-poms in my hand, and I'll go like...
It's so true, though. I have never met a crafter that wasn't just dying to learn the next thing. I think that's what's so fun about the crafting community is we are all just dying to learn a new trick.
Right.
I've never met somebody who's like, no, I know enough. I'm good.
Right.
I don't need to learn anything else about crafting. So that is super fun, and online card classes definitely feeds that.
Oh, totally.
So you're a flower addict, huh? That's where you're going to go if you go first? You're going to go to a flower stamp?
Yeah, totally.
Me too. I'm a floral girl. I see some kind of space images back there, though, on your little board. I saw that, Christine, that reminds me, I love that watercolor galaxy that you did. I might have to sneak one of those in for Kathy's challenge.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Kathy, thank you so much for letting us pick your brain today and learn all about your crafting on the road. I got some great tips, and I'm sure everybody else did too. And I cannot wait until your coloring challenge. It's always a high point of my internet life to do that with you. So I'm super excited to hear that there's another one coming up. So thank you so much for being with us. Tell us again where everybody can find you and tell us about the challenge.
So you all can find me on thedailymarker.com, and from there you can link to my Instagram. I'm Kathy Rack on Instagram. I'm also on Twitter, but I'm mostly active on my blog and Instagram. And then just the coloring challenge, the next one will be July 5th through August 3rd. And I'm just so excited, and I'm so excited that you guys were interested to hearing about crafting and traveling and wanted to hear what I had to say, because I think you all are the bomb. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you.
Thanks, y'all. Okay, we'll see you guys soon. Thanks so much.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.